In this section, we are going to have a little bit more fun because we are going to use the advanced feature of the visual builder to do even more crazy design on our store. So far in this course, we have just used some of the features that you need to actually build the store and get ready to sell online. But if you feel like a designer and you want to go way further in terms of design for your store, then the visual builder is very, very powerful and you can do a lot of things. So in this section, I will show you a few things that you might like and you might want to add on your store. Just before we start, in case you jump directly to this section, make sure you watch the previous section about the visual builder to make sure you understand everything, because we are not going to cover the basic here. We are only going to cover some more advanced design feature. So here we are in the visual builder on my store. The first thing that I want to show you are the different options that we have for the background of any elements. So for example, let's go to a section, settings, and then here into background, you can use a color, you can use a gradient like we used before in the course, or an image, but you can also use a video, a pattern, and a mask. For a video, it will just display your video at the back of a section, pretty similar as the image that we did before, but the pattern and the mask are actually pretty cool. By default, you have plenty of patterns that you can use. Just choose the one that you want, and then choose a color. And now the background of our section is actually pretty cool. And we have a lot of different patterns that we can use, and you can just try them and see if it fits your design and if it's something that you want to use. And then below that, you can also play with different settings and then do something pretty cool here that will surprise your visitors. Then still in background, we can also add background mask. So I will just delete this one so you can see the difference. And then when you go to mask, it will actually create a mask on your background. For example, if we put the color red, now we have this type of cool dynamic background in our section. And we have plenty of type of mask that once again, you can just try different color combination, see how it looks, see how it feels, and then you can create some very dynamic background this way using some crazy stuff that are actually pretty cool. And then you can also combine both, like we can add a pattern and a mask. So for example, we can do something like this one, and now we have both at the same time. Or this one. So this way you can combine the different style, play with the settings, and make a pretty cool background. So that's the first one that I want to show you. Let's delete it. Let's go back to something more classic for the store. And you can access these different background settings on any element of your page. Whether it's a row, section, or a module, you can do the same thing, okay? Then the next thing that I wanted to show you was into design and dividers. So this one is only available in the section. A divider will be something that will be displayed on top or at the bottom of your section. So let me show you. We have again different style, and you can choose the color, and it will display some cool things like this on your store. So you can choose the style that you prefer, like that. There is plenty of options. And for example, something that I like doing with the dividers is to take, for example, this one on the top. We go to the bottom and we add a divider, like for example, this one. And then if we change the color of this section here to white, then now we have a pretty cool divider between those two sections that had a lot of dynamism to our page. It's not just a straight line that separates our image on top and our product just below. We can add multiple types of divider and create something much more dynamic. So again, we have plenty of options that you can choose from. And this is available for all the sections of your store. So obviously, if we want to do that, we need to change the color of the text to black to make it nice, but I won't do it here. It's just to show you the different possibilities. Then you can apply that on your own store. So, okay, for this, I will just go back. Okay, then the next thing that I like a lot, I will show it to you on this picture here. If you go to any element, design settings, so it can be on a module or a row or a section, it doesn't matter. And then you go to box shadow here, you can add a shadow around your element. And you can do some very cool style with that. So for example, here we can select this one and then for example, put white. And now we have this cool shadow behind our picture. We can, for example, move it a little bit like this. And now it looks like there is some sort of light behind the watch, which is pretty cool. So I like this one. I like this one as well. That just goes below. We have this one that goes all around. You can change the color. You have some additional settings as well that you can play with. One over that I like is this one. It adds this kind of border to your elements. I think that's pretty cool. And then you can combine this shadow here with the actual border just above that. That will add a border around your element. So for example, we can add a white line like that, and then the box shadow around it, which creates some sort of pretty cool frame around our watch. And I think this is pretty cool. And so you can do something very cool with that. You can also round the corner if you want. Like for example, if you put 20 pixels, then you can have something rounded, which is again something pretty cool. Feel free to unleash your creativity and do something cool with these settings. Then the next cool thing to show you is here at the bottom of design on each element as well, section, row or module, you have animation. You can make your element appear in style on your page. For example, you can add fade or slide, bounce, zoom or flip. This one is pretty cool. Fold, roll. I think the flip one was really cool. And then you have some additional settings below where again you can play with. Just one thing important here, never put animation above the fold. If you remember earlier in this course, I told you about this idea of above the fold content. So above the fold is all the content that we see when we load your page for your first time. So from the top of your page towards the bottom of the screen. Okay, so for example, I am on top of my page and I can see all of these elements. You should never put an animation into this area here that is called above the fold. Okay, because the animation always load in last on your store, which means your entire page will load first and then your animation. So as we want this content here above the fold to load very fast, because that's the first thing that we see on our page, you don't want to put any animation that will be delayed and that won't appear fast enough, and it will give a feeling to your visitors that your website is very slow. So just keep in mind, never put animation above the fold. Always put them below this line here of the bottom of your screen. So for me, the above the fold line is around here, below this section. So as long as it's below this text and maybe below this section here, just to be safe, this is completely okay. Then after the animation, something that is cool as well into the visual builder is into advanced and then condition. Here you can add some condition to display or not your elements. Again, it works with the section, the rows, or the modules, and you can very easily add condition to display or not your contents, which will help you to do pretty advanced design and pretty complex stuff very easily. For example, you can add condition to display this module only if my user is logged in. And then you add another picture if the user is logged out. So you add another image, and on the other image, you add the condition only if user is logged out. So then you have one that display when logged in and the other one display when logged out. Then you have other condition about the date, the page visit, if the person purchased a product or not, if the person has some product into their cart, and so on. There's a lot of condition that you can add to your element and do some very cool design using them. And then the last cool feature to show you, I will show it to you here on this module. You go to the settings and then advanced. It is the scroll effect here. It will add an animation when we scroll around your element. So let me show you. For example, let's add this one, the fading in and out, enable. And so now when we scroll, our element fade in. It's not displayed all the time. It fade in and then fade out when we scroll. Okay, so you can change the settings here. For example, we can do 0, 100, and then 0 again. So then it appears when we scroll and then it disappears. You can also do hover effect, and you can also combine them together to do even more advanced things. That's it for this section about the advanced feature of the visual builder. You can use them to do some really cool design and totally unleash your creativity, and you don't need to do any coding to use this feature, so it's pretty cool. And feel free to go back to your pages from time to time to add an element or to improve an element, and this way over time your store will get better and better.